Alright, y'all, imagine pulling into your driveway after a long day, expecting to kick back with a cold drink, only to see a crew in bright orange vests hacking away at your favorite oak tree, the one that's been shading your porch for 20 years. My heart's pounding, I slam on the brakes, and before I know it, I'm sprinting across my lawn, yelling, "Stop! What the hell are you doing to my tree?" Little did I know, that moment would unravel $1 million scam and bring the FBI to my quiet little neighborhood in Maple Grove, Virginia. I'm Matt Coleman, just a regular guy who bought a house in this suburban paradise called Crestwood Heights 5 years ago. That oak tree wasn't just a tree. It was where my kids hung their swing, where we carved our initials one summer, where I'd sit and think about my dad, who helped me plant it when I moved in. So when I saw those chainsaws tearing into it, it felt like someone was ripping out a piece of my soul. And then, striding toward me like she owned the place, comes Linda Harris, my next-door neighbor and the unofficial queen of the Crestwood Heights HOA. Her blonde hair's perfect, her smile's all teeth, and she's got that "I'm better than you" vibe that makes my skin crawl. "Matt, thank God someone's finally dealing with this mess," she says, arms crossed. "Your leaves clog my gutters every fall, and those roots are ruining my driveway." I'm barely listening, shoving past her to the crew chief, a guy who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. "This is my property," I say, voice shaking. "Who told you to do this?" He hands me a crumpled paper with an HOA stamp, signed by none other than Paul Whitaker, HOA president and Linda's buddy from their weekly golf outings. "HOA approval, sir," he mumbles. I scan the document. Looks official, but something's off. I've paid my dues, followed every stupid rule about fence heights and mailbox colors, and nobody told me a thing about this. I never got a notice. I snap, pulling out my phone to take pictures. Linda chimes in, all fake concern. "Maybe if you checked your mail, Matt, you'd know what's going on." Before I can call Paul, there's a sickening crack, like the world's splitting in two. A massive branch, half-cut and wobbling, comes crashing down with a boom that shakes the ground. It lands right on Linda's precious pergola, the one she's been bragging about in every HOA newsletter, smashing it to splinters and flattening her prized tulips. Her scream could have woken the dead. "My pergola," she shrieks, pointing at me like I'm the devil himself. "Look what your tree did. You're paying for this, Matt." The crew chief whistles. "That's gonna cost a pretty penny." I'm standing there, heart racing, trying to process it all. "Your crew cut the branch," I say, voice low. "If anyone's to blame, it's the HOA for touching my tree without permission." Linda's already on her phone, texting Paul, and sure enough, his shiny Lexus pulls up minutes later. He steps out, tan as a beach bum, clipboard in hand, not even glancing at me. "What a mess." "Linda," he says, like I'm not standing right there. I step into his view, arms crossed. "Paul, your crew's cutting my tree without my say-so." "Explain that." He flashes a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "HOA bylaws, Matt. Section 6.4, trees deemed hazardous can be removed at our discretion. We've had complaints." "Complaints?" I laugh, bitter. "Let me guess. You, Linda, and your wife?" He doesn't flinch. Notice was sent. "And now, with this damage, it proves the tree was a problem. You'll be getting the bill for that pergola." I feel like I'm in a bad dream. "The damage happened because your guys botched the job," I say, pointing at the jagged stump. "That tree was healthy." Linda's snapping photos of her wrecked pergola, muttering, "That's not how the report's gonna read." Neighbors are peeking out now, curtains twitching. And I know this is the neighborhood drama of the week. Paul leans in, voice low. "Matt, the tree's coming down, one way or another. Fight this, and we'll make it rough. Fines add up fast." It's a threat, plain as day, and I'm not gonna lie, it shakes me. I've heard stories, folks losing their homes over HOA battles. But I'm not backing down. "I'm calling my lawyer," I say, pulling out my phone. Paul shrugs. "Do what you gotta do, but that bill's coming." That night, I'm up late, scrolling through HOA horror stories online, taking pictures of the tree, what's left of it. Anyway, the stump looks like a wound, raw and wrong. I check my mailbox, and yeah, there's a notice, but it's dated yesterday. No way that's legit. At 3 a.m., I hear a car door slam. Peeking through the blinds, I see Paul's Lexus creeping away from my curb. What's he doing here at this hour? The next morning, a certified letter arrives. HOA's suing me for $30,000 for negligent damage to Linda's pergola. Attached is a report, dated a month ago, claiming my tree was diseased. A month ago? Linda didn't start griping until 2 weeks back. Something's fishy. And I'm starting to think this isn't just about a tree. My phone rings, it's Ed, my neighbor from down the street, a retired guy who's been at war with the HOA over his garden gnomes forever. Saw Paul sneaking around your place last night, he says. Check your property line, Matt. I think they're after something bigger. My hands are shaking as I dig out my closing documents, spreading them across the kitchen table. The property survey's clear as day. My oak was 2 feet inside my lot, not HOA land. A note from my realtor even calls it a valuable mature tree. They had no right to touch it. Ed's over by now, sipping coffee, looking at the papers. This is bigger than you think, he says. Paul's construction company gets every HOA contract, no bids, no questions. And Linda's husband, Greg? He's on the city zoning board, greenlighting Paul's big development downtown. I'm piecing it together, and it's ugly. I call a lawyer, Rachel Carter, who's fought HOAs before. She's sharp, tells me to document everything: photos, bylaws, the works. Section 7.2 of the HOA rules says they can't touch private trees without consent. I'm feeling a spark of hope, but then another letter hits my mailbox, a $150,000 lien on my house for emergency assessments. My stomach drops. Can they really take my home? Linda calls. All fake pity. Got the HOA's letter, Matt? Such a shame about my pergola. My daughter's wedding was gonna be there. I'm fuming. Your crew cut my tree, Linda. How's this my fault? She laughs, cold. If you'd maintained your yard, we wouldn't be here. The board's got 15 complaints about that eyesore. I'm pacing, ready to scream, when Ed shows up with a 6-pack. You need this, he says. And we sit, talking it out. He tells me about neighbors who got fined for dumb stuff, like the Wilsons, hit with $600 for a wrong shade of porch paint. Paul's got the board in his pocket, Ed says. His company's bleeding us dry, and Linda's husband pushes his projects through the city. I'm starting to see the web power, money, control. That night, I find a text from an unknown number. Check your survey. They want your land. I'm spooked but determined. I order security cameras, knowing they're against HOA rules, but I don't care anymore. The next morning, I'm out back, checking the stump, and notice weird holes in the dirt, too neat to be random. Someone's been digging. I call Rachel, who says it sounds like they're testing soil, maybe to pin some environmental issue on me. That afternoon, Linda's at my door with a plate of cookies, all smiles. Thought we could talk about a payment plan for the pergola, she says. Like we're buddies. I'm not buying it. No deal, Linda. My survey shows that tree was mine. You had no right to cut it. That's destruction of property, per your own bylaws. Her face hardens. You're making enemies, Matt. We've got a nice community here. Nobody likes a troublemaker. As she leaves, an email pinks. The HOA's upping the lien to $200,000. I'm drowning, but I'm not done. Things get crazier. At 4 a.m., my security app catches Paul and 2 board members in my yard, digging with tools and bagging soil. They're testing something, high-fiving like they struck gold. I send the footage to Rachel, who's floored. This is criminal trespass, she says. They're desperate. Then, bright orange hazard signs pop up around my yard, claiming my land's contaminated. Neighbors start crossing the street to avoid me. One lady shields her kid's face like I'm toxic. Linda's out there, telling everyone my soil's poisoning the water. A news vent shows up, and she's feeding them lies. I'm the neighborhood pariah now. Ed and I fight back, printing flyers with my survey and photos of the crew cutting my tree. We slip them under doors. But Linda calls an emergency HOA meeting, inviting only her cronies. The next day, my mailbox is smashed and Ed's tires are slashed. At night, a rock crashes through my window, a note tied to it. Leave, or worse. I'm scared, but I'm pissed. Rachel connects me with Detective Laura Simmons, who's been eyeing Paul's company for shady deals. I show her the footage, the holes, the signs. This isn't just about your tree, she says, spreading out photos of Paul's trucks. His company's been overcharging the HOA for years, $80,000 for a fence that should have cost $25,000. And Linda's husband? He's pushing Paul's riverfront project through the city, despite environmental red flags. Laura brings in Agent Karen Liu from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Over coffee in my kitchen, Karen's all business. Your tree kicked over a hornet's nest, she says. Paul's company's tied to 6 HOAs, siphoning millions through fake contracts. Your lot's key. They need it for a drainage pond to keep their riverfront project legal. My jaw drops. So the tree, the pergola, it was a setup? Karen nods. They wanted you broke and scared. So you'd sell cheap. Linda's husband got them permits. Paul's company gets the contracts. It's a racket. She shows me a map with my house circled, labeled detention pond site. I'm stunned. This is way bigger than I thought. Karen asks me to play it cool, attend the HOA's big vote to kick me out, and record it with a hidden device. I'm nervous, but I'm in. The meeting's packed, Linda in the front row, pearls gleaming, whispering, that's the troublemaker. Paul's up there, smug in his suit, flashing slides of my house. Calling my cameras unauthorized and my soil toxic. He says my tree's to blame for the pergola and claims I'm a threat to community safety. Linda stands, all dramatic. My cat won't even walk near his yard. Animals know. I'm biting my tongue, hands sweaty around the recording pen, when Ed pipes up. Where's the soil test, Paul? Who ran it? Paul brushes him off. My company's got experts. Details don't matter. Paul pulls up the bylaws, quoting some rule about evicting dangerous homeowners. Our legal team's ready, he says, glaring at me. Fighting this is pointless. I'm about to lose it when the doors slam open. Agent Lou storms in, FBI jacket bright, flanked by agents with boxes and warrants. Richard Whitaker, she says. Voice cutting through the chaos. We've got federal warrants for your financial records, devices, and those of Linda Harris, Bob Jenkins, and Claire Morton. The room explodes. Linda's on her feet. Pearls bouncing. This is outrageous. Paul's a respected businessman. An agent blocks her. Ma'am, sit down. Paul's lunging for his laptop, but an agent's already there. Step away, sir. Tampering's a federal offense. Karen projects Paul's files on the screen, a spreadsheet listing every neighbor, with notes like compliant or problem next to my name. Target for removal, land needed for pond. Gasps fill the room. Ed stands. Is it true, Linda, that your husband got Paul's project approved right after his company redid your driveway for free? Linda's speechless, mouth flapping. Karen explains. Paul's company's been embezzling millions in HOA fees through fake contracts. Your fees spiked to cover it. And they plan to force out Matt and others for their riverfront project. Chaos erupts. Neighbors who shun me are shouting, demanding answers. That's why my fees are $700 a month, one yells. Linda tries to bolt, but an agent stops her. Paul's cuffed, muttering about his lawyers. I stand, voice steady. It started with my tree, but I followed the money. They've been robbing us all. The crowd's with me now, some apologizing, others snapping photos of the screen. Outside, sirens wail as the FBI loads up evidence. Linda's alone, staring at her hands, her empire crumbling. Weeks later, Paul and Linda face federal charges, fraud, bribery, the works. The lien's gone, the lawsuit's dropped, and the HOA's under new management, promising transparency. I'm still in my house. But I'm haunted. My neighbors turned on me so fast, could I have fought smarter? Avoided the war? Or was this the only way to expose the truth? What do you think? Was I right to dig in? Or should I have played nice? Drop a comment, share your HOA nightmares or neighbor dramas. Let's talk. Have you ever had to fight for what's yours? Hit that like button, share this story. And let's keep the conversation going. This is Matt, from Maple Grove, where sometimes saving a tree means saving a whole lot more.